Welcome to the DeFi Standard. This is Patty XRP, and today I'm going to cover a little state of Songbird Network as well as Songbird Finance, give you guys some numbers just on how the network's doing right now, what to look forward to coming in the future months, and then also touch on just some different areas you can find information within the community, as well as address some of the things and intricacies of Songbird Finance and their different applications to hopefully clear the air on some of that stuff. I do see a lot of questions come in, whether through like the chat rooms out there or on Twitter, where I think people don't understand certain things that are going on. So, with that, hopefully, it's going to be rather educational and give you kind of a snapshot of where we are currently. With that, I will say the metrics I pulled, I did by hand. And, there's no guarantee they're entirely accurate to the T. However, I feel pretty good about what I've pulled so far. And all the prices and stuff were pulled roughly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today on Tuesday, January 11th of 2022. So to start off here, let's talk about Songbird Network in general. We have our native asset, which is Songbird. Currently, the price on the Flare X decentralized exchange is going to be 13 cents. With that, we currently have about a 9.7 billion circulating supply. The total supply is around 15.5 billion. And the reason for this gap is what is held by the Flare Foundation is not included in the calculation for circulating supply. The Flare Foundation is going to be not for profit, and the Songbird tokens that they hold may never come out, or they'd be used for grants, bug bounties, whatever that may be, to pay the people that work on the operations of the foundation in the future. And the foundation's also going to hold Spark tokens as well. So, with that, looking at what we have as far as circulating supply, total supply, and the price, the current circulating market cap is around $1.25 billion. And the fully diluted market cap would be roughly $2 billion, which takes into account what the total supply is. Obviously, the price has fallen a lot from where it was a couple months ago. We were, in the heat of the market moving, up for a while until we took a big hit in November, with all the stuff going on throughout the world, new variants or, Fed saying they're going to taper, or whatever it may be, hawkish talk around interest rates. And certainly the crypto market has fallen quite a bit from that point in November when we had the first kind of downturn. Additionally, here, one of the other things, Songbird did continue to rise through that period through December 12th when there was a snapshot for the XFi tokens. I think it got as high as like 55, 60 cents before obviously falling drastically by more than, 70% from that point in time. So with that, I think a lot of people are not feeling great if you bought into Songbird at that level. And you'd be at a pretty big loss now. So I totally understand those feelings. Hopefully, as we've seen more airdrops as a community, people get a better idea, of how these things work. There's always traders trying to, swing trade those events rather than trying to get the actual airdrop, which, kind of inflates the price in the short run and creates a lot of volatility. So hopefully, as a community, as we continue to see these, that kind of stuff gets priced in quicker. So we'll have to see what happens there. But also the market, has been hit really hard during that time. So I think that's also been affecting the price as well. So that's all I'm going to touch on with that. Additionally, currently on Flare Metrics, there's 63 signal providers signed up on their website. And what they provide at Flare Metrics, and this is Tim Rowley from FTSO AU, and I'm not sure if the whole team helps him out with it or it's just him at this point, but they allow people to kind of get verified through them to be put out on their website. That doesn't mean that that's the only signal providers that are actually contributing to the network. Anybody could possibly run one, and you don't necessarily have to make your address public on their website to be able to participate in that. You may have a ton of Songbird on your own and just run your own signal provider and do it that way without asking for delegations from the community. At its peak, I've seen 90 plus signal providers recorded, and that comes from FTSO EU. And we'll kind of address a tweet from them in a little bit. The NFT projects are kind of getting hard to track at this point, but there's definitely 10 plus at this point. Some of them is the Canary Birds that came from the Sparkles team. We've seen Bazooka Chicks, Songbird Punks, Pretty Pandas, just several different kind of mint ones, plus all the stuff that goes on Best FTSO. Whether it's NFT Riddler, a collaboration with the Bored Apes on the XRP ledger, or just different entities that are basically creating NFTs at this point. Flare Oracle also offers NFT rewards for delegating to that signal provider. So we're seeing some growth there. The Sparkles team is looking to get their marketplace for at least buying and selling out there by the end of the month. So we'll see if that happens, and certainly give them the time to set that up correctly, which I think a lot of people will be excited about once that fully gets launched, hopefully by the end of January. If it takes longer, then that's what it is. So with this, I'm going to dive into some metrics with Songbird Finance, or as you guys have known it, XFi, Experimental Finance. It's going to be rebranded here to Songbird Finance very shortly. So that's what I'm going to start referring to it as. With this, they have 2 tokens issued at this point. XFi is the secondary governance token. SFIN is the primary governance token. These are going to be able to be used in voting if you stake in the governance staking pool in the future. You can also use them to provide, proposals to the network, or rather the Songbird Finance ecosystem, like future listings, adding new wrapped assets, adding new collateral assets, adjusting parameters around maybe how much the collateralization ratio should be, or whatever things people come up with in the future. So a single SFIN token is equal to 10,000 votes, and an XFi token is 1 vote. And that's basically the ratio between the total supplies of these 2 assets. So looking at XFi now, the price when I recorded this was $354 on Flare X. And with that, we currently have a 24 million circulating supply. And the total supply is now at 94 million. Originally, it's planned to be 110 million total supply with a 40 million airdrop. However, Flare Foundation was included in this distribution, and they have burned the 16 million XFi that were allotted to them. So that has officially decreased the maximum supply and the current circulating supply. So at this price point, the circulating market cap's around $85 million, and the fully diluted market cap is around $332 million. Where can future supply come from all this? That could be from the Songbird Finance team, Flare Finance, their tokens vesting over a year. Additionally, it could be from the future foundation that'll be around the DAO on Songbird Finance, that, whether it be grants, bug bounties, similar to the Flare Foundation, that they could give out in the future. And then we also have a 40 million XFi reserve pool, which we'll use to backstop the APY paid out through the governance staking protocol, which kind of brings in the APY cloud, which will be launched here once everything gets out there. That basically aggregates fees collected on the different applications and modules within Songbird Finance and pays a portion of those fees out to stakers. The APY is going to be a minimum 5% to maximum around 35% are the parameters for that to start off with. If, for a given period of time, the APY is under 5%, it'll dip into that reserve pool to make sure that the full 5% is being paid out every time the yield is delivered. Now, SFIN, obviously, it's been extremely volatile. There's an extremely low amount of the total supply on the market. I'm not actually entirely sure what the total supply is. It's probably somewhere in between 15 to 20 that's circulating. So I'm going to go with 15 just for sake of this. Currently, when I looked at this, the price was around $183,000. So at a 15 circulating supply of the token, that gives us a circulating market cap of $2.7 million. And if we look at the total supply, there's about a 2 billion fully diluted market cap in US dollar value. So with that, 10,000 of these tokens are being delivered through Flare Loans, Flare Mutual, and Flare Farm. The vast majority goes into Flare Farm, with 8,000 of them being delivered there. In their white paper for YFIN, and SFIN acts as YFIN on the Songbird network, it was going to come out in around 2 years. So we'd see 10,000 total or circulating supply in about 2 years if none of the reserves ever came out. So that's where we're kind of looking like timeline wise. I don't know if it's a little different on Songbird Finance as far as that, but I'm going to go with what the team has for YFIN in a 2-year distribution for 10,000 of the tokens. So we can see where we are at right there. Also, since a bunch of XFi Gamma has launched a bunch of new liquidity pools, farming pools, good stuff like that, the TVL is close to $100 million right now, which I would say is pretty solid on the Canary network, especially considering the prices of Songbird or XFi right out the gate and SFIN have all dropped dramatically, whether in the past week or two or over a couple months for the Songbird token. And the way that I derived all this, these are all estimates. So the SGB Canary Dollar liquidity pool has about $5.25 million in it. The XFi Canary Dollar pool has around $900,000 in it. The SGB XFi liquidity pool, excuse me. The SGB XFi liquidity pool has around close to $1.7 million, and the SFIN Canary Dollar pool has $2.3 million in it. Now moving down to Flare Farm, and the reason I'm not going to include these in Flare Farm is because it's basically the same either way, so I don't want to double count the TVL here. And with the farming pool, we have SFIN staked at $1.4 million approximately. Canary Dollar staked at $2.6 million. Wrap Songbird staked is around $50.7 million, and XFi staked is around $26 million. And then finally, moving down to here, the amount of Wrap Songbird in collateral is $7.8 million, with the amount of Canary Dollars in the stability pool at $4,700. And then we also have 911,000 DFLR staked in the DFLR staking portion of Flare loans, which earns you Canary Dollars and Songbird, which is basically fees paid out on the loans platform. We don't know what the price of this is going to be, so I'm not going to include a dollar metric, and it's also not added into the total TVL count here. So that's what brings us close to $1 million. Obviously, TVL fluctuates a ton based on the movements of the market. So we'll see which way this goes. Certainly, as more tokens are added in, that will increase it. But you also have to kind of, see how the market's moving as far as how much value is going to be locked at any given time. So moving into the next part here, I just want to touch on the Explorer. Flare had a tweet today kind of about some growth in the network. We're at over 10 million transactions in about 4 months. There's been over 6.7 million blocks closed, and we're already at 300 and close to 16,000 wallet addresses created. The average block time right now is 1.2 seconds. During peak periods of activity, I've seen this get as low as basically a third of a second. So like 333 milliseconds, which I think is rather impressive. We'll have to see how all this works over time as more transactions are happening per second in the future. So that'll be interesting to keep track of. Additionally, on Flare metrics, we're talking about the number of signal providers. You can see the 63 ones listed here. It's quite a few now for us to choose between, which I think is really great for the prospects on Flare as far as having a decentralized FTSO out the gate. With that, we'll have to see if the voting power should stay at 10% or be lowered. I know that a lot of people focus on how much yield they're earning from the FTSO, but from a network standpoint and making sure the FTSO works as it should, there's two things I think need to be considered. Good enough distribution of the voting power so that one entity can't have a too big of an effect on what the price is for any given output. Additionally, I think it's really important that we have as many signal providers thriving as possible, because all of these signal providers have people with technical backgrounds on their team. And I think if they're able to stick around for the long haul, and earn income in a living through the Songbird Network, that they may be more incentivized to actually develop additional products, applications, websites for metrics, different things going into the future. So I think it's nice to have this like strong developer base starting to form through the FTSOs that are out there. So that's kind of what I have to say there. Additionally, Gene on Twitter, he's been putting out some really great stuff on the epochs that are going by for the FTSO. You can see these are his own calculations and pulling data from the blockchain. He includes like a nice rundown of what's going on. So this is epoch 15. You can see a bunch of metrics as far as what was, if you extrapolated, the APR over the course of a year, what would it be from this specific epoch? You can see what average APRs have been for the FTSOs over time. So like AFTSO, like through 15 epochs has been the best performer and has an average APR of 73.74%. It'll show you voting power if, anybody's been oversubscribed and different stuff like that. He also has some nice graphs here. So this is SGB epoch 15 rewards per day. So you can see Alpha Oracle performed pretty well in epoch 15, especially since they weren't oversubscribed. And this is generally what you would be receiving for the specific amount of Songbird delegated through them per day. Additionally, and I think he just takes top 10 here. So relative accuracy, FTSO IT was considered accurate for every single output. However, they were oversubscribed. So that's why their reward rate was a little lower than Alpha Oracle for this epoch. You can also see Alpha Oracle was sitting around 90% per day on relative accuracy, which is just how often is your like output being included in the FTSO. You can see the APR per epoch over time. Now, this doesn't mean necessarily like this is what you would have over the course of the year, considering each epoch. Different reward amounts have been coming out. Obviously, it was super high in the beginning because of the fact that a lot of the Songbird hadn't been released. It takes people time before they either learn how to delegate, get it set up, life gets in the way and different stuff like that. You can see we've had this downward slope, and now we're kind of finding our footing of where we're going to see like the average APR will be for, we'll see how long this kind of lasts and if we have increases or decreases as well. And then this last one is SGB APR per epoch, top 10, so an average over time. Highly suggest you check out Gene here on Twitter. So it's Gene LOL Kima. I believe that's how his last name is, but I cannot pronounce that correctly, I imagine. So if you like this, definitely check him out. And then additionally, FTSO EU has been putting out some cool screenshots just to kind of show people, what is being output, what's going into these price feeds from the FTSO. So they had a tweet a couple days ago, 91 signal providers just, I'm assuming they meant computed to be included in the award area, which was wide about $1.50 for Bitcoin USD pair. So this means basically the entire spread between every single signal provider for this given output was the highest price was $1.50 above the lowest price put in, which is pretty incredibly tight spread for an asset that's priced as 41,000, 820 something dollars at the time. So I think that's really great that their spread was that tight and they were all so closely in line. It also shows you like how just little decimal points or a percentage point here or there can get you into the reward rate and affect ultimately what your output is for a given epoch. So I think that's really great. They've been sharing this stuff as well. Now to move on to some stuff about Songbird Finance, because there's certainly been a lot of questions about this. If you're switching between different assets, you can kind of just click here on Flare X and swap between them. So like, let's say I pulled up Canary Dollars. There's pairings with SGB, XFI, and SFIN that I can sell into. If I did SFIN up here to sell, I can only, if I click on it, nothing pops up because there's only a pool to go from SFIN to Canary Dollars. SGB has quite a few pools where it's paired against Canary Dollars and XFI as well. So that's kind of how you can swap between all that stuff. On the liquidity page, if you are a liquidity provider and you're not aware of this, basically, you can come in here if you wanted to check what your current asset composition is because you have your LP tokens staked in Flare Farm. I could just click provide liquidity, go to remove here. And then with that, let's say I had 5,000 LP tokens. It would tell me that this is currently worth 9,700 Canary dollars and 2,755 XFI. Basically, if I want to know the whole position size, since I know CAN's a stable coin, I can roughly just double this amount and that'll tell me the entire value of my position currently. So that's something you can do with that. As far as SGB stuff and getting delegation rewards, when those are eligible to you, the team's going to have to add claiming buttons like on this one. The SGB can's been around for a while, so that's why the claim's available. And those will be added. You can claim on FlareX, Flare Farm, or if you have Wrap Songbird as collateral in Flare Loans. I will say there's been a couple times that I haven't gotten my Songbird delivered to me from FTSO delegations through this platform. In that case, just reach out to mods or the team in their Discord or Telegram and see if they can help you out with that. There may be some issues. They're still trying to kind of fine tune how that process works. So just be wary that that's going on. Now going to Flare Farm, we can see we have 8 different active farming pools, all paying out SFIN. With this, you can single stake SFIN or XFI, Wrap Songbird, or Canary Dollars. I would just refer to these as, it's just a single token farming pool. Your assets aren't being used for anything. They're just in here to earn the distribution of the native token. Basically, like a farming platform is kind of considered a fair distribution model since anybody can come in, stake their tokens, and earn the governance token of the network. With that, I did put out a tweet a few days ago on a strategy if you want to utilize your own delegations instead of delegations through the smart contract on Flare Farm with Wrap Songbird. That basically requires you to have the Wrap Songbird delegating in your wallet while the time period for a voting lock could occur. And this is a 42-hour period. It goes from 14:42 UTC time on Thursdays to 8:42 UTC time on Saturdays. So if your Wrap Songbird is in your wallet during that time period, then that would guarantee that it's delegating based on your wallet delegations for the next epoch. If it's in Flare Farm smart contract or some other smart contract on Songbird Finance, then that is going to go through their delegations, which is 50% to DeFi oracles, 50% to some other top performing FTSO, which has been AFTSO a lot, is who they've been using in that circumstance. So up to you on what strategy you want to utilize there, as well as this other stuff. Now, let's say you provided liquidity to SGB Canned, if you come in here and you stake your LP tokens here, just know that on the FlareX liquidity page, it's going to show 0 LP tokens for you. That's because the UI is reading what your wallet is saying when it's connected. And if the LP tokens are staked in Flare Farm, the FlareX liquidity page is going to see your wallet has no LP tokens in it. So that's why I talked about like going in here, going to remove and just entering the amount you have to keep track of what your position value is over time if you want to do that. And yeah, I think that should cover everything. All right, one additional thing, I guess, on Flare Farm. Let's say you have something staked, especially on SFIN, since people have really low amounts because the token comes out really slowly over time. Let's say I had some staked and it was a smaller amount than the UI allows you to see. If you're on mobile, you can just like tap on it and it'll have a pop-up that shows you the true amount of either unclaimed or staked. If I had stuff staked or unclaimed here, if I hovered over it, it would pop up as well. So that's another thing. Now going to Flare Loans, since I think there's the most confusion around this, and obviously it's been, I guess, I don't want to say unstable, but it's definitely had a lot of changes in what's going on with it. So one of the things right now is there's barely any Canary dollars in the stability pool. So right now there's 131,728. That means if no more Canary dollars are you know, added to the stability pool and we have liquidations that exceed 131,000 Canary dollars, at that point, any liquidations, the debt would be adjusted. And like, let's imagine there's, like a balance sheet. The the debt would be adjusted and given to current nest owners, but also they'd get that SGB collateral at 110% added to their collateral backing it at whatever the price is at a given time, which comes from this Oracle price right here, which is 14 cents essentially. So if that happens to you, you got to decide how you want to deal with it. Obviously, you just got added debt to your position and you don't have those Canary dollars to utilize so that you can pay it back. So one thing could be that you remove the new collateral you got, get Canary dollars and pay it back. The issue is we have had a pretty large spread between the Oracle price and the Flare X price. And this is due to the lack of arbitrage loops within the ecosystem. So you can imagine that, let's say I have Canary dollars on, Songbird Finance here, and I can go and buy SGB off Flare X for a specific price. So let's say 12.93 or 12, almost 13 cents. So I sell my Canary dollars for SGB at this rate. I could take them to, let's say, BitTrue and sell them for roughly 14 and a half cents. So I would make a profit there. The thing is, once I do that, I have to sell it into XRP or USDT, and there's no way to get XRP or USDT back into the system without buying Songbird or XFi. So it doesn't allow like one entity to keep looping through and basically level out the two prices equal to each other with arbitrage. So it requires many more people to do this until it levels out, which is not as normal of a scenario. Normally you just have traders or some kind of entity that's out there looking for arbitrage opportunities, and they'll keep looping it until it comes to equilibrium and that opportunity is no longer available. Flare Wrap is something that could fix this with wrapping, let's say, USDT on the network. That would allow you to get USDT on BitTrue after you sold Songbird, bridge it from the Ethereum network into the Songbird network, and then use that USDT to trade back into Canned and sell that for SGB to kind of complete that loop there. I know that's kind of hard to imagine, but that's the best way I can explain it right now. So we're kind of waiting on that. It seems like from Crypto Frenchie that'll be a couple weeks away at this point. So additionally, if you're in the stability pool, it doesn't take a lot of liquidations to wipe out your entire Canary dollar position. The other issue is if you need to get back into Canary dollars and they're being used to pay back bad debt, and there's this spread between the Oracle price and the Flare X price, that 10% premium you get in SGB collateral when your Canary dollars are used to pay it back doesn't doesn't translate to being able to immediately sell that for Canary dollars at the same rate where you would get a profit. So that's kind of an issue as well. And adding in that arbitrage should help also. The other big thing that's happened is there were a lot of redemptions around New Year's, and we addressed this in a video a couple weeks ago. But with that, that's how the system functions. If Canary dollars is trading below its peg of $1, which honestly is rather opaque, and I don't have a way to determine what the price is at this point of Canary dollars at any given time, they can basically swap Canary dollars back to the platform, and the platform will value those Canary dollars at $1. So let's say Canary dollars is trading at 95 cents on Flare X. Well, you would get a better rate for like SGB collateral if you went through the redemption mechanism. What that does is return the Canary dollars and pay off debt as well. But it kind of allows the price to rise back up to $1 and manage its peg. So that's needed. The thing is, with like stable coins, loans platforms, they normally have the most volatility and instability in the early days as they kind of get going and have a more robust ecosystem around them. In the future, it should improve. So we'll have to keep monitoring that. So I think that's going to wrap up the video. Hopefully this was informative for people and helps answer some questions or just give you a snapshot of where we are in time right now. This is the DeFi Standard. I'm Patty XRP, and I'm out.